Hello, Facebook. Greetings. So, greetings, everybody. June Allen here, your racial sobriety mentor from juneallen.net, and I teach black women how to heal from the impact of racism with racial sobriety and personal empowerment. Hi, thanks for joining. Oh yeah, so it's been a little while since I've been on. I've done any live streams. I've been beavering away in the background, and I'll let you know about what I've been up to as well. But I hope you're well. Hope you're having a good lunch, whatever you're eating. So where do I start? So let me just get my notes up. Right. So today's topic is all about how black time destroys your self-esteem. So for any chronic people that are always late, chronic lateness, this is one that's going to be for you. And we're going to have an honest conversation about black time. I know a lot of us laugh about it, but I'm laughing now about black time, but we're going to have an honest conversation about how black time actually destroys your self-esteem and actually your relationships as well. But before we get into the content, let me just go through the housekeeping. So I'm really excited because my course, Self-Love Rehab, is now live. It's been open for a few days, and I just love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. So so at the moment the students and I are kind of working on doing a lot of pre-work and stuff with them, making sure that they've got everything set up, making sure they've downloaded all the software and all that kind of stuff. And so later on today I'm going to be launching the first module, which is all about how to kind of set up your empowerment plan. So so the course is all about, if you're new, and one of the most common questions I get is like, June, I don't know where to start. I love what you do, I love what you chat about, I get what you're saying, but I have no idea where to start with any of this conversation. I don't even know where to begin when it comes to self-love. So literally this course, I had a look back through the stuff that I had, and I've got a lot of content, but there was no kind of step-by-step course or process that I could take people through that was going to help them kind of set up a lot of the basics and help them to understand racism and understand their behaviour, set up their morning and evening routines and all of that kind of stuff, all the really, really basic stuff that you need someone to just walk you through it, to hold your hand and walk you through it. So this is what Self-Love Rehab is about. It's 12 weeks, 6 modules, and we're just working through it. So one of the things that's important in the beginning stages of the course is to look at our relationship with time. So hence this broadcast, I wanted to talk specifically about black time and how it impacts your self-esteem. So that course is actually available now, the Self-Love Rehab course. So if you're interested in joining that, you can click the link in the bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. Excuse me, that's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. So really excited about that. So the second thing on the housekeeping is that the Ghana trip is happening in November. If you haven't heard about it already, myself and my business partner Faith Agugu are going to be doing a wonderful cultural exploration of the self. It's about topic of it is return to self, and it's going to be an amazing experience to actually do that on the shores of Africa. So we're really, really, really excited about that. That is going to be from the 10th to the 16th of November this year. And if you pay it in full before the 1st of October of this year, then you're going to get 5% off the price. So again, if you click the link in the bio, you will get, there's a link there that will take you to the page. And you can sign up, and there's also some other live streams and stuff that Faith and I have done together about black mindfulness, some stuff around your relationship with your mum and all that kind of stuff. You can get hold of all of that stuff as well if you sign up, if you just register your interest. Even if you're not sure whether you want to go to Ghana or not, just sign up there, register your interest, and you'll get those live streams as well. So 5% off Ghana if you pay before the 1st of October, if you pay in full by the 1st of October. So that is today's housekeeping. So for those of you that have just joined, my name is June Allen from juneallen.net, and I teach black women how to heal from the impact of racism with racial sobriety and revolutionary self-love. So today's topic is all about self-esteem and black time. How black time actually destroys self-esteem. So I've got 3 requests on this broadcast. If you know somebody who is chronically late that needs to be told why their black time is destroying your relationship and their relationship with themselves, tag them. Of course it's not too late to join. I've only just started, so no, it's not too late. It's fine. You're absolutely fine. I'm just literally going through it now. So I'm just recapping for people that have just joined. So you haven't missed anything. So it's absolutely fine. Yes, if you know someone who's chronically late that needs to hear this, then obviously tag them. If you know, if there's anything that you don't understand that I'm talking about, to join Self-Love Rehab. Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about the broadcast. No, you can still join Self-Love Rehab. It's absolutely fine. You can still join it because the what was I going to say? A lot of the stuff that we've done so far is on video. Some of it's video, some of it's going to be live masterclasses, some of it's going to be audio. There's loads of different things. So if you go to click the link in the bio, you can still join. You can either pay it outright. There's payment plan options as well. But no, Self-Love Rehab is definitely still there. So if you are if you're new to the whole issue around racial sobriety, or if you're in recovery or in therapy, and you want some more support around how to kind of set all that stuff up, it's from a cultural perspective as well, self-care from a cultural perspective, then yeah, that's what it's all about. So yeah, no, it's definitely not too late to join Self-Love Rehab. Obviously module 1 is going to be delivered today, and then the first live masterclass, not masterclass, sorry, the first soul session is going to be next Thursday. So yeah, you can definitely still join. So click the link in the bio and do that. It'd be lovely to see you in there. Yeah, so 3 requests. So if you don't understand, send me a direct message or message below. If you know someone that's struggling with the same issue, then tag them, and let me know your takeaways as well. Let me know your takeaways if what I'm saying makes sense. So those are the 3 requests. So let's get into the content. Let's get into the content about black time. So for those of you that don't know what black time is, black time, as you know, is this thing that we have as a community where we're always late. We're always late, we're never on time, and people kind of laugh about it. And even I've been laughing about it, but at the same time, it is something that I think is important for us to have a conversation about, because, you know, I believe that our relationship with time anchors everything. Our relationship with time has such an important and profound impact on our well-being, how we show up in the world, how we experience each other, how we experience relationship. All of those things are all impacted by our relationship with time. Good morning, Tamika. How are you? Well, yeah. So what I mean when I say our relationship with time is no different to our relationship with each other, or our relationship with our children or our parents or whatever. There's going to be a dynamic with our relationship with time. Okay, and so it's important for us to really think about, how do we think about time? Are you a time victim? Do you think that time is always against you? Are you one of these people that thinks that there's never enough time? Or are you time abundant? Do you feel flush with your time? Now, the whole thing around black time as well is that, you know, a lot of us are chronically late. And I actually believe that chronic lateness is a form of self-sabotage. It's a form of self-sabotage. I think it's easy to take time for granted. You know, we think that, oh, you know, I'll do it tomorrow, or, you know, it's only 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. And I think that we can really take it for granted that time is just something that is what it is. But I think that the other thing as well is that a lot of us tend to externalize our time, in the sense that we think that time is something that we have no control over, and we feel powerless over time. We feel powerless over time because we've got so much to do. We're so busy, and so we feel like I was saying before, we almost feel like time victims. We feel like time is something that is against us all the time. So we feel pressure, we feel stressed, we feel upset because there's never enough time. There's never enough time to do anything. There's always deprivation. It's always about deprivation. And I think, just like everything else, that you know, our relationship with time is also a mirror of the relationship that we have with ourselves. If you're finding time very difficult to manage, then there's going to be some sort of internal chaos, some sort of internal upset that's going on at the same time, which kind of mirrors that. If, like, you know, there's been times when I've felt like a time victim, like, oh, I've never got enough time and I can't do that, and I'm always busy and all the rest of it. And really what that's about is that I'm feeling an internal sense of chaos. There's something about my life at that particular time that feels unmanageable, and quite often it means that I'm not planning, I'm not making time, I'm not being intentional about my time. That's why it feels unmanageable. That's why I feel powerless, because I'm allowing myself to be dragged through the day. Yeah, I'm allowing myself to be dragged through the day. I'm allowing myself to be kind of dragged around by everybody else's expectations, because I don't have a relationship with time. I don't have a relationship with time. I have a codependent relationship with time, if that sounds a bit weird. But I have a codependent relationship with time because I'm allowing time to dictate how my day is going, as opposed to being firm around my time, setting boundaries around my time, and saying, actually, this is how I'm going to allow time to nurture me. So I'm going to share 3 things with you, 3 ways that black time or chronic lateness impacts your self-esteem. Now, the first thing is it breaks the trust. It breaks the trust in terms of the relationship that you have with yourself. If you're always late, then it's going to be difficult, more harder for you to trust yourself, because when you make a commitment to yourself to do something and you don't do it, it's not good for your it's not good for you building your self-esteem. You know, again, that relationship, it's so easy for us to think about relationship as it relates to other people. You know, we think about time as it relates to other people. We think about relationship as it relates to other people. But I think when you start to see or understand the term relationship from a perspective of, it can be with anything. You can have a relationship with anything, and you start to explore that relationship. It's really, really quite empowering, because you learn so much about yourself by doing that. By making the decision to have a relationship, to explore the relationship with all the different aspects of your life. And time is no different. Time is no different. When you start to explore the relationship with time, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, because the first thing that you realize is that time is not something that's external, that is given to a lot more to one person and not to another. You are time. You are responsible for your time. You know, so if you decide to make a promise to yourself to do something, keep that promise. Make a commitment to keep that promise, because when you start to keep the small promises to yourself, it's going to help you to build that self-esteem back up. It's going to help you to build that self-esteem back up. Now, if we go on to number 2, and the second one is, when you're late or you're chronically late, obviously we're human beings and there are going to be times when things happen. I'm not saying that you can never ever be late, but what I'm saying is when it's chronic, when people know that, oh, so-and-so's always late, she's going to be late. That's when it's chronic, that's when you know you need to really explore it and have a conversation about it. Now, one of the feelings that's generated as a result of being chronically late is shame. It generates feelings of shame. Then you feel bad about yourself because you're always late. You feel bad because you've maybe upset the other person. If you're meeting somebody at a certain time, or if you promise somebody that you're going to do something by a certain time, and you don't do it, you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel bad about yourself. You're going to feel bad about the relationship with that person, the friendship with that person, the business relationship with that person, or whatever it is. You are going to feel bad about yourself. You're going to internalize that and you're going to feel bad about yourself. Now, one of the things that happens when you've got low self-esteem, consciously or unconsciously, you're going to keep putting yourself in situations that are going to continue to perpetuate those feelings of low self-esteem. So you're going to do things that are going to shame you, consciously or unconsciously. You're going to adapt certain behaviors that are going to reiterate how you already feel about yourself. And so if you want to reverse that, if you want to start to rebuild your self-esteem and start to rebuild the relationship with yourself and others, starting with time, your relationship with time is a really great place to start, a really simple place to start. And when you start to take charge of those things and start to be honest with yourself about those things, then you start to see a pattern. You start to, maybe it's harder than you think. It might seem really easy and like, oh yeah, just be on time. But for some people, it's a compulsion. It's a compulsion. And it's very difficult for people to kind of get out of that pattern. And when you start to explore that relationship with time, one of the things that, I have got a set of questions that, I'm asking the ladies in self-love rehab is to break down the reasons why, they behave the way that they behave around time. If they are chronically late, what is underneath that? How do they really feel about themselves? What feelings are generated when they're late? Is it anger? Is it shame? Do they want to hide? All of that kind of stuff. Do they feel kind of socially anorexic or whatever? They think that they've got no worth. Does it impact their sense of self around being late? All of these questions are really, really important, because ultimately, if you want to change the relationship that you have with yourself, if you really want to do this racial wellness work, if you really want to change your life, change your situation, feel more empowered and feel more self-confident, you've got to be willing to change your relationship with time, because your relationship with time is going to impact how you spend your time. Yeah, that's going to have a massive impact on that. So obviously you don't want to be putting yourself in situations where you are going to be feeling ashamed, because when you feel ashamed, then it just means that you don't want to do things because you just feel like a bad person all the time. So the third thing that is that breaks self-esteem, as a result of being late, is it breaks the trust with other people. You come across as being flaky. It's hard for other people to trust you, especially when it comes to things like, friendships or in business or whatever it is. If you're always late or you're unreliable, people are going to just be like, oh, that's just how she is. But it just is, it can create like an underlying resentment. It can create an underlying resentment for you and for them around the whole lateness thing, because there's a solidness that's required. There's a solidness that is required within any sort of relationship. And, again, this is one of the, your relationship with time and how that impacts your relationships is one of the really, really simple ways that you can begin to build trust. One of the most important things in business as well, or kind of serving your community and things like that. I believe, especially in the Black community, time is one of the ways that you can really an easy way to kind of start to build trust with the community, because we're so used to lateness as being a thing in our community that, we quite easily accept shoddiness. So if you make the decision to stop doing that, it has an instant impact on how you communicate, how you relate to other people. I'll give you an example. I had a situation with a Black business recently. I really wanted, myself and my business partner really wanted to do the Ghana launch at this event at this location. It was a Black business, and anyway, I phoned her about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, way before the launch, and I said to her, look, I want to have the event at your place, blah blah blah. So we talked about how much it costs, how long I wanted it for, all that kind of stuff. So she explained it to me, which was fine. We agreed it. Told her the dates and everything. She said, yeah, the dates was free. And I said to her a few times, look, can you please send me the invoice? Please send me the PayPal link or send me the invoice or whatever, so that I can pay a deposit or pay it outright, so I know that it's solid and secure. So anyway, she didn't send it. I contacted her a few times after that. She still didn't send it. And, I ended up speaking to, it was a couple of weeks or so before the actual event itself. And I said, look, I'm a little bit concerned. I haven't heard anything. I still haven't had the PayPal link or anything like that. I need to speak to, this particular person. So anyway, the people that were working in the establishment, this apparently the person that I'd been talking to before, the owner, she was off traveling somewhere. So she wasn't available to have a conversation with about it again. And the people that were holding the fort for her while she was away didn't know anything about me, didn't know anything about the event. So I was really panicking and thinking, oh my God, what we're going to do. So anyway, I ended up speaking to my to Faith about it, and we decided, look, we're just going to have the event at my place. Ended up having it at my house at the end, in the end, and it was a really nice event. But the reason why I mention it about the whole time thing is that when the owner actually returned from her travels, she actually messaged me. I think it was it the day before, the actual day of the event, saying, "Oh, everything's okay." And I was thinking to myself, you really can't expect me to now honour the fact that you're so late. This is so late in the day. This is so late in the day. And she still thought that even though I hadn't heard anything from her, I'd had no PayPal link, I'd had nothing, that she was still going to expect me to show up and do the event at her establishment. And I thought, I'm not going to do this, because number one, I had to let my clients know, the people that were interested in coming to the launch, where the event was. And because I hadn't heard anything from her, and no money had exchanged hands, nothing was set in stone. So, I said to her, look, I'm really disappointed. I feel really disappointed, because I really wanted to use your premises, obviously, to kind of empower another black businesses, give them the money and all the rest of it. But because of her unmanageability around the money and around her time and all the rest of it, it didn't happen. So she ended up losing money, and because I had to make other arrangements now to get it done. And I think that this sort of stuff is, if we want our businesses to grow, if we want our lives to be different, if we want to build appropriate relationships with other people, we have to be clear and start to respect time. We have to respect time. We have to respect other people's time. The last thing, the third thing that I put on here is about the whole thing around breaking the trust, is a huge one when it comes to things like business and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's very hard to, to practice respect, to be respectful, to practice it and to honour each other as business owners or as friends or whatever it is, if this whole thing around time is not respected. It's not respected. And at the end of the day, this is something that is so important to building relationship, to building trust. And I think it's time for us to really stop taking this stuff for granted, or thinking it doesn't matter, and actually be honest about it. It doesn't, it may well be a cultural thing. It may well be something that a lot of us have done or that we're used to. But when it comes to certain things like business or, for me personally, I think it's that thing about showing up, whether it's cultural or not. For me, I know that if I'm late, I don't feel good about myself. It kind of triggers feelings of shame. It triggers that I just feel bad about myself. And obviously there are times when it's going to happen. I'm not going to beat myself over the head with a club, and say, okay, well, I'm late. As long as it's not chronic, even though I don't like being late, I know it's going to happen sometimes, because at the end of the day, I know that I'm powerless. I can't do anything about it. If I'm on the tube or whatever, I can't do nothing about that. I have to obviously I have to sometimes just accept that that's just the way it is. But where it is in my power to be on time, I'm on time. I just did the, last weekend I did the, I was hosting at the African Health and Wellbeing Day with Nigel Stewart, and it was an amazing event. But I was very adamant that I wanted to arrive on time. We had rehearsals and all the rest of it, and it didn't matter if anybody else or other people weren't there on time, or whether I thought people would just, would be a bit whatever. I made a promise to myself that I was going to arrive at the time requested, and I arrived at the time requested. And yes, I was a little bit early. There's a few people kind of, that were a little bit, not late, but, it wasn't, anyway, it was okay, because I want to be known for being on time. I want to be known as being able to show up. I want to be able to show up And that for me, especially because this is the first time, that I've worked with the organisation, and like this other lady that I was talking about before, about the Ghana launch, I hadn't worked with her before, so I didn't know how she operated. And so for the first time, it's not good for building trust, because I'm not sure whether I would use her establishment again, because at the end of the day, she apologised and everything, which is fine. But there's always going to be that thing at the back of my head now, that am I going to want to go back there to do any other events and stuff like that, because of the way that she practiced, how she operated. She didn't have a good relationship with time. So as it relates to your wellness, our wellness, having good time boundaries is really, really important. Now, when I talk about having good time boundaries, when we talk about boundaries generally, a boundary is generally about, what is acceptable for you and I. Now, when we're talking about boundaries in terms of care, it's about being really clear with yourself how much time you want to spend with a person, a place, or doing something. Yeah, that's what a time boundary is, being clear about how much time you want to spend with a person, a place, or doing that thing. So when it comes to your care, it's like, okay, my morning routine, I'm going to spend 30 minutes to an hour every morning doing my sacred sister time. That's what I've been working on with my mentees in the self-love rehab course at the moment. We're working through, we're talking about our relationship with time. We're working through the specific things that they need to be doing in the mornings in order to kind of generate feelings of wellness and feelings of peace and building self-esteem and all of that kind of stuff, and putting things in place to make that happen. Nurturing the space where they're doing this sort of work, whether it's in the bedroom or in the living room or wherever their sacred space is, to being honest about, is that space conducive to healing? Is it private? Is it quiet? Do you feel nurtured? Or, is there kind of clutter all over the place and all of that? It's about putting those really simple things in place so that when you do come into that space at the time that is suggested, that a time that works for you, that you can enter that space at the right time when you're not going to be disturbed, and you can work through at the specific time boundary, 30 to 60 minutes, so that you can nurture yourself. Our self-care shouldn't be an afterthought. It needs to be an intentional act that we do on a daily basis. And I was saying to I was sharing last week with somebody about the importance of doing self-care on a daily basis, because living under the system of racism, we experience these microaggressions and all of this kind of stuff on a daily basis. It's cyclical. So that means that our self-care, our self-love, our self-nurturing also has to be cyclical, and it needs to be daily. It needs to be a disciplined process. And so this is why self-love rehab is so important. Because we need to have these little small rituals and milestones that we do every single day to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, that we're taking care of our needs. That stuff is really, really important. It's really, really important. So, it is about, so time boundaries are really important. So it is things like, making sure that that you're clear about how much time you want to spend daily, weekly on your self-care, what time, you're going to be going to bed, how many hours sleep do you get, all that kind of stuff. How much time are you spending with your family? Are you leaving work on time? Are your time boundaries at work all over the place? That's a huge one for a lot of us, myself included. This is a daily thing that I have to really, really look at. But it is possible to be clear and to set these time boundaries to make sure that that our wellness is not kind of all over the place. So it's not unmanageable. We need those boundaries, and time is no exception. Having boundaries around your time is no exception. It's really, really important. Okay, so that is it for today. So I'm just going to quickly run through the 3 things again, how black time is sabotaging your self-esteem. The first one is it breaks the trust that you have with yourself. It makes you feel bad about yourself when you're late and stuff like that. The second thing is it's going to generate feelings of shame. You're going to feel ashamed of who you are when you're late. You feel like, oh, you're flustered, and it just makes you feel bad about yourself because you're not keeping the promises to yourself. And in order to build self-esteem and self-confidence with others, you've first got to build that trust within yourself. So, you know, feelings of shame and stuff like that get generated from being late is not conducive to nurturing your wellness. So that's the second one. And the third one is, not only are you breaking the trust with yourself, you're breaking your trust and stuff with others. You don't want other people to think that you're flaky, especially when it comes to, you know, showing up in friendships or whether you're showing up in business or whatever. It's important to nurture those relationships, and we do that by setting our time boundaries. So thank you so much for joining me today. I don't take for granted the fact that you've chosen to spend time with me. If you know somebody who might be interested in this broadcast, tag them, share it with them, let them know. If you have any other questions about anything that I've shared today, please drop them in the comments below, or you can send me a direct message. If you are interested in joining Self-Love Rehab, we would love to have you join. Click the link in the bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you next time. All right, take care. Bye-bye.